Morning, Joe. Kick us off.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, mate.
How's the squad looking? Has everyone come back from the international break, and during that period, during the international break, everyone fit to play?
Yeah, we've had a good bit of work together. Obviously, everyone don't come back until today. And we've obviously picked up some injuries while they've been away as well, which is not great. But yeah, everyone's in good spirits and ready.
Did it come at a good time for you, the international break, in terms of you got a few new players in and you've had some time to work with those as a group?
Yes and no, because if we'd have had just a Saturday fixture to Saturday, we would have had the full squad to work with and been able to do a lot more to this Spurs game and everyone together. So in that respect, it's always a struggle in the international break. But what it did do was allow us 2 weeks to probably individualise that 2 weeks for each player. We had some who were getting game time, some doing a lot of extra fitness work, some who suddenly jumped and had a lot of games like Gus and Vinny, people like that, had a bit more downtime until this week. So, yeah, in that respect, it was good. We could individualise a lot of stuff, but yeah, we could have done with a few more of the boys being here who we would have wanted to be working with.
And I guess the atmosphere has been pretty good, having got that first point on the board for the lads that have been here, and has that been a big boost?
Yeah, I think since listen, the atmosphere has been up and down over since we came back, but certainly from the start of the season, as we started getting bodies through the door, and how we could then train, we got numbers in to allow us to do different things. We increased the quality day on day, and yeah, since that moment, it's just been gradually improving and improving. But we're going to try. It's easier said than done. But we're going to try really hard to make sure that results aren't affecting the atmosphere, and make sure it's more based on how well we work in here that affects the atmosphere. Because if we don't get things right here, if we're not trying to improve every day, then yeah, I won't be happy, and the rest of the staff won't be happy. So I think that's more important.
Tom Davis, how's he? I know that he didn't play in the reserve fixture. Is he any closer to being match fit?
Yeah, he's closer, so he's getting fitter and fitter, doing a lot of work. So he's one of the ones who this 2 weeks have been good for. Yeah, he's at the point now where to get match fit, he needs a game time. Yeah.
And James McAtee, how's it been having him back in the group? And he was such a big player for you last season. Will he be raring to go at the weekend?
Yeah, he'll be raring to go. We've only had 2 training sessions with him. That's it. Yeah, so again, he's another one who I'd have loved to have had in the building all the time. Listen, if he'd have gone away and played 90 minutes to 21s, then that would have been great, because one thing he's not had is football. But yeah, he's excited to be here. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of expectation on him, of course there is, and it's going to be different for him to deal with that, but he's still way behind where he needs to be, and he's got a hell of a lot of catching up to do in terms of game time, which he didn't have in pre-season. But what I would say, which is a pleasing thing, is he's come in the building where he left off. So we did a lot of work with him, as everyone knows, in the first few months. Him off the ball, trying to affect a championship game, and then a lot of work with him in that final third when he got in the team. How could he transfer that undoubted quality he's got into goals and assists? And he's come back this season where he left last season, if you know what I mean. So all that 3, 4, 5 months work, whatever it was at the beginning, it's there. It's not like we're starting again with a player. So from that respect, yeah, it's great to have him back.
Is he the sort of personality that can deal with that expectation? Because I know a lot of fans, he was the player that they wanted to see return this season. He was so influential in achieving promotion.
Yeah, but and it's a different challenge. That's what he wants to do. He knows what we expect of him, and that has changed. He's got big expectations and aspirations himself, and I think that's the reason he chose to come back. Yeah, but there's lots of different things. Some I'll share with you, some I won't, about what we've chatted about and what I see as the next step for him. But yeah, he's still a young lad. For me, he can improve in so many different areas, And that's it. If we nudge him forward in one or two of those areas, then it's been another great loan for him. He gets that. He also gets that, you know, when he is going to get pushed, or where I see some in these areas of his game that he can improve in, it probably is a little bit scary that, yeah, he's thinking I'm telling him what a bad player he is, but I'm not. I just think the ceiling's really high for him.
You've filled your 25-man squad. There were some rumours about possibly Andre Ayew coming in. Were they just rumours, or did you have...
Just rumours, we couldn't sign anyone.
Fair enough. And coming up, we've got Tottenham next. You know, they've started the season really well under Ange Postecoglou. Maddison and Son in good form. You know, how do you go and deal with those two there, and you know, what we have to do to get a result?
Well, to get a result, we're going to have to perform really well. I want us to play with no fear. I want us to have a go. If they'll be favourites, rightly so. But I believe in this group of players. I believe we can go there and win, definitely. But we're going to have to get a lot of things right. I've enjoyed watching them at the start of the season. It's been good, and probably only really understand what they're trying to do when you're watching them to play against them. So yeah, it's been good. It's been interesting having a good look at what they've been doing and how they've been going about their work. And they've got some undoubted threats, you know. So, and yeah, we're going to see that. You know, we can't go there hoping that they're just going to underperform. We've got to go there expecting them to show all that quality, to show where the threats. They've got players who haven't been quiet in games, in any of the games this season. So we know it's going to be tough in that respect, but I'd like to think that we can cause them problems as well. And like I said, if we play in a really fearless nature, which is what we're going to try and work towards week after week, and try and improve in that respect, then yeah, we'll try and pose them problems as well going the other way.
Final question from me on Harry Maguire. I don't know whether you know him, Paul, but obviously he's thought of really well in these parts, having come through the system. What have you made of sort of the criticism of him, and then what Gareth Southgate, if you saw when he came out and defended him? You know, he's clearly going through a tough time, but you know, do you think some of it's been a bit harsh on him?
Yeah, I just think the fact I'm getting asked about Harry Maguire shows how out of context everything is. I just think it's mental. He's not in the team at Man U. He's played for England, scored an own goal that probably a lot of us would have scored. That's it. That's my take on it. He's not in the team, and there's always got to be someone people talk about. There has, and it's Harry at the minute. But the fact I'm getting asked about him shows for me just how mad things can get.
Thanks, Paul.
Paul, it's mid-September. The window's kind of shut. The international break's done. You finally got a sense of what your squad looks like. Is it mad that we've got to this point of the season? It feels like you can properly start your work now.
Yeah, honestly, I've had two. Jack was saying, yeah, you could tell. I've had 2 days with the players where I've been on the training ground. I've been leading it, driving it, and I've really enjoyed it. And he's like, yeah, you could tell. Like it's all of a sudden I feel like I can do my job. And that's the exciting bit, the good bit, because we know we've got. Yeah, and we've still, for me, so much work to do in terms of trying to catch players up, trying to get players up to their absolute best level, whilst at the same time trying to pick up points now. So, yeah, it's I'm glad we're here. I wish it would have been a while ago, but I'm glad that we're here now. Yeah, but it is. It feels like that we're ready to go now.
Have you had to wait until now to do, I don't know, if you got a message that you were going to put across with the whole squad in, there's no point doing it earlier on, was it? Because you didn't know what that squad was going to look like. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and we still, yeah. So, yeah, there's lots of things, like as a group of coaching staff now, that we need to start trying to be good at and clear on. So, yeah, as you myself, it's not about what we've not got, it's about what we have got, and we need to try and bridge our gap and compete against the likes of Spurs. So to do that, we have to be better than Spurs at so many things, and one of that I think is trying to do that here at the training ground. So yeah, we know what we've got now. We need to make sure we're really clear on how we can have the biggest impact, not only in the week but then come a match day from the bench. certain changes, and once we're clear on that with the staff, now we know what we've got. It's about getting all that information across the players. So, yeah, like I say, it's the point now I'm pleased to be at.
Is it nice now in a way that compared to when you were going into the Crystal Palace game, you've actually got some tough selections to make now, as opposed to that game where it was, look lads, who's available? Yeah,
and from the bench game like that. So the one thing you notice, and we've seen it in every game, you're looking at changes from the opposition's bench. And no disrespect to what we've had, but we haven't been in this position. And you look at the changes that they're making, and look at changes we could possibly make. And we want that. We want those selection problems, because it's not going to be the 11 that win the game. If we can become really clear and really good with our substitutions, our tactical changes, and almost, if you like, plan ahead for those in a game to let them have the most amount of impact before a game, is that a little way we can bridge the gap as well? So, yeah, I don't see it as selection problems. I see it as opportunities to help us get points.
And is the toughest part of that at the minute going to be your midfield? Obviously, you've spoken a little bit about James McAtee coming back in.
Well, I'm hoping if we get it that way, then we've done our job. If we get it that way, once Macca's playing minutes and Tom's playing minutes, we've already got Gus, Ollie, Vinny playing minutes. We've got Anis back now, getting his minutes. Brooks has had exposure already. He's just come back from a knock as well. So yeah, we want that. We want that, but we want everyone to be at the top of the game. And then not only are you picking the best starting 11 for a given game, but you also got the best opportunities to change a game or see a game out from the bench.
Do you feel James is in a place where he can start games yet?
Could start, whether it could last, I don't know. Like, 'cause he's been training. He's not one of those boys who's been out injured and we're looking after him. He's consistently been training, so he could start a game, but he's not going to be at his best till he's had a lot of minutes. He's had a handful of minutes with City, and then he had 15 minutes the other night. He looks sharp. He looks hungry. Yeah, but it's like I said, fitness-wise, he could do some runs and we can improve him that way, but he needs a game time now.
I know we've already touched a little bit on expectations with him, but does particularly the fan base need to kind of manage their expectations a little bit? Because we saw last season with James McAtee that, slow start, really grew into the season, developed into the season, got better as the season went on. This is another different level for him, isn't it?
Yeah, it's new for him. And also remember, it's not... If he was that player that a lot of our people probably think he wouldn't be here. He'd be playing for Man City. Do you know what I mean? What he's a big talent, and what I believe he's got, and why I really like working with him. I think he's a little bit different to other people we've got in our squad. But you're not going to guarantee that quality every single time. We want to give him the license to try things. We want to give him the license to show that he can create things, score goals, win games. But to do that, he's going to get a lot of things wrong. And to do that and get himself the minutes on the pitch all the time to allow that, he needs to get a lot of things right without the ball as well. So, like I said, there's so many things that we think we can improve him on. But what we do love about him is that, which we saw last season, we want him on the pitch for those moments which can create for us.
And with the development that you saw in him last year, have you got any doubts that he can't kick on again and really show that by the end of this season he can be a really good kind of week in, week out Premier League player?
Yeah, and that's what he wants as well. That's why he wanted to come. He knows he'll get opportunity here. He knows what he's going to be pushed on, what we expect from him in terms of what we're aiming for in terms of his game. He knows what we expect from him in terms of standards and how hard he has to work, but I'm on about what we expect from him in terms of where we think he can get to. And that was what he was wanting as well, so that's why he wanted to come back.
A couple of specifics around injuries. I know you mentioned picking up a couple of new ones. And like Med Hodgick, George Baldock, did they pick up injuries away? Are they available this week?
Yeah, well, Nell never went. He had an injury before he went, so he never went, so he's here. So he's the only one fit. Then George picked up an injury, Will picked up an injury, he just picked up an injury. Yeah, so everyone who's been away has come back injured, apart from Davo.
Yeah, so Anel, so is he out at the minute? What's his situation?
Anel? Yeah. No, Anel's training now. Anel's fine. Right, so okay. Anel had we were worried about his thigh, and he had some hamstring issues, which, listen, again, it's a mountain made out of a molehill. I've read a lot of stories, and So if I just set the record, so Nel did speak to people at the Bosnian FA, 3 people who all knew about it, and from his past experience when he'd been away and came back injured and not looked after as well as we would want and he would want, he knew he wasn't fit to play, and we knew he wasn't fit to play, so he wanted to get the best possible treatment to get fit and training as quick as possible, and we've got him back on the grass and available now today. So whilst he knows I've never stopped anyone going and playing for the country, I think it's unreal. I think he has been really sensible, he's got himself fit in these days.
How frustrating has that been to see so much being kind of written? Because we've all seen it on social over the last few weeks.
That's what it is. It's like we've just been asked about Harry there. Like, it's just crazy, some of it. Like, I know you guys always have a job to do, but honestly, sometimes it's laughable when you're getting asked about certain things. It's just, where has this come from? Obviously, there was something there, yeah, definitely, but it's been blown out of all proportion.
Yasser, what's his situation?
Yasser?
Larousse?
Yasser's training, yeah, fine. Obviously, he came off with a bang. Sore for the first few days, but he's trained all this week.
And in terms of the longer term injuries, is there anyone close enough back now that's kind of within a couple of weeks?
No, maybe Turtle's use them, but not, like I said, no.
Because I know in terms of updates you won't give us any specifics, but
I don't, because has any of them ever come true? Yeah.
The 25-man squad has been mentioned already. The fact that all of those players that are out a little bit long-term at the minute, like Fleck and Norrington Davis and Brewster, does that show that the fact that they've all been named, that you do expect them to play some part over the next few months? Yeah,
and also the Premier League wouldn't allow us to bring players in if we've got those players, which I find a bit strange. So all our players, even though we've got a lot of long-term injuries in there, we could have named, with all those out, we could have named 18 in the squad. It wouldn't mean we could bring 7 in, because they would just say, no, you've got players there ready who can play. So, yeah.
How different are Spurs this season under Ange Postecoglou?
Well, I didn't see too much of them last year. We were focused on everyone in our league last year. And again, probably things that are said about them compared to last year, maybe way off the mark, I don't know. But having watched, like I said, watched them the first few games, I've enjoyed watching them play. I think there's a real clear identity or method in what they want to do and what they want to look like. So, yeah, sometimes I think that's easier to prepare for. I'm not saying easier to stop. What I'm saying is it's easier to prepare for, because you know what you're going to come up against.
Different circumstances, of course, but, you've lost one of your key players. They've lost their key player in Harry Kane as well. I suppose that poses a big challenge to you as an individual and to different clubs, but also to the other players in stepping up and filling that void.
Yeah, I honestly don't worry about it. And I bet Ange says exactly the same. What can you do? It's overdone. We're pointless worrying about it. So from our point of view, everyone who's left our place, I wish them well and want to see them do well. But I can honestly say I'm not thinking about what they're doing. I'm thinking about our players and how we get the best out of what we've got, and I would have thought Ange would be exactly the same.
Did you show in your game plan against Manchester City that essentially you won't go into any game this season without that willingness to try and get a point, to try and get something out of it? Because clearly you had a game plan there that nearly brought you something from it. Yeah,
we've got to. I think it's a big strength of us. I just think every day should be like that anyway. Every day, we want to compete. I want to test ourselves against everyone. I want our players to think that as well. I want our players to be hungry to stay in this league. I want our players to be hungry to impress. Yeah, so whoever we play, we set up to get points. Yeah, definitely.
And maybe, do you take anything from your last trip? Because you went to Spurs in your previous few months at the club.
Only that Gareth Bale's not playing.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah. It didn't end too well that day in a 4-0 defeat, but is there kind of anything that you take from that, or are you in a very...
I think exactly what I'm talking about. I thought first half, I can't remember how the scoring went, was it a 1-0 or 2-0? I can't remember. But I thought first half we're really passive. No one showed what they're about, probably a reflection on how the players were feeling at that moment in time. And I thought the second half started really well. Everyone got on the ball, showed what they were about, some real good moments. And they scored some fantastic goals on the counter-attack, but you take that approach the second half in terms of better mentality, players braver to get on the ball. It's easier said than done, but there has to be a real willingness to try and play that way and take risks to get on the ball, and otherwise there's only one outcome. So I think that's, it's irrelevant to our players in there, but that's something that reinforces everything that I say all the time. Like, we want to try and win games, we want to try and take points. So for that, we have to have the right attitude.
It's only a couple of years ago. Does it feel about a lifetime ago, that, with everything that's happened in the interim?
It's a couple of years, yeah. Listen, it's strange times. No one in the ground. COVID, when we chat about COVID now, and we'd all have stories. It's like, did that really happen, you know? And that's probably one of those things. Going to a stadium like that, totally empty. It'd be nice to have it full today.
Great stuff. Cheers, Paul.
Thank you. Hi, Paul. Just a couple of quick ones, if that's all right. Just to understand something that you said before about wanting your players to be fearless at Spurs. Practically, as a manager, how do you try and achieve that?
Well, in everything we do. So I think the worst type of way you can set a team up is defensively, but with no aggression. They sit behind the ball. So we want to take risks when we've got the ball. We don't just want to try and keep the ball and slow the game. We want to try and keep the ball to create chances. We know that's tougher this season than last. But we have to be of the mindset of the more chances we create, the more chances we've got scoring a goal. So when we've got the ball, we want to be positive. And likewise, when we defend, it's about trying to win the ball back. Sometimes you can do that high, and that's harder in this league. But even if you peg back and you're in your own defensive third, there has to be an aggression about us to win the ball back and play from there. So yeah, it's about being aggressive and not worrying about consequences, just going out and trying to perform.
And having that clear approach, how does that help the players psychologically to play on a stage like the Tottenham?
Yeah, well, I say all the time, if they make mistakes trying to get on the ball, if they make mistakes trying to do the right thing, I'll defend them all the way. If we haven't got players on the pitch willing to take the ball, then we'll change the players. You know, if we haven't got the players willing to run and work and compete and fight, then we have to change the players. If we've got that attitude, we've got that willingness to do it, then yeah, brilliant. We've got a better chance of succeeding, and not only succeeding, but a better chance of improving game on game.
And sticking to those principles, does that help as well when you are tweaking the approach slightly between a Manchester City, between an Everton and then a Tottenham?
Yeah, because the expectations are the same. Everything we're doing is to try and win. Everything we're doing. So that approach is no different to last season in the Championship. How we do it might have to be different because we're not foolish enough. Listen, some games last season, from the sideline, it's pretty evident we could just step onto a team, and we did it with some really good teams as well, by the way. But when we had the mentality right, we could just step onto a team and virtually go man for man and start running over the top and create chance. And it was the mentality that allowed us to do that. We could still have the same mentality this season, but actually, physically, we might be up against teams with better qualities in certain moments than us that we want to try and avoid. So, yeah, we have to be a bit more selective, I would think. And the challenge is just harder. That's it.
Thank you.